Hello and welcome to another episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. I'm your host Lance, here with my other host Matt. Today we have a special bonus episode for everybody because Matt and I went to go see the latest Solo Leveling ReAwakening movie in theaters, and we just got back and we can't wait to talk about it.
Let's get into this. I'm so pumped. Let's get right into it. What'd you think?
Right off the bat, let's just say, well, clearly for starters, we are going to potentially spoil a lot of this. But we're going to vaguely get into it, so as we get further into this episode, that's where more and more spoilers will be. Overall, 100% pleased with this movie. So glad we went to go see it. What were your immediate thoughts?
For anybody that is curious, basically it's a recap of season 1, and then episode 1 and 2 are combined, and that's the whole thing. So I thought it was fantastic. The part that I've been waiting for, basically since I heard that it was a recap of the first season, was hearing Arise in theaters. I got chills, like full body chills.
Oh yeah. And we saw this in Japanese, so we got like the original voice of everything.
Yep.
And just when he says Arise in theaters, it was just so amazing.
I would have loved to see this dub because the voice actor for Jino is... Honestly, I'd probably say he did a better job of the dub Arise than the sub.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I can say I can pinpoint a difference, or not a difference, but a favoritism between the two quite yet. I'd almost have to hear them side by side. I appreciate both of them. So Matt and I just paused the podcast so that we could listen to them side by side, and the English voice actor for Jinu and him saying Arise, it is amazing. He does such a great job with his voice.
Arise.
He really does. In the process of trying to find said act, we watched his TikTok of him making jokes about people threatening him, which is fucked up. Don't do that. Don't be that person. But
yeah, and by threatening, it was him replacing the word arise with like, get up for school, wakey, wakey.
Yeah.
Like just totally trolling the whole community. And it was him obviously joking, but it's still kind of funny.
Yes, and that was in reaction to just death threats and other just stupid comments of people making.
Yeah, definitely. Don't be that person.
Yeah, don't be that person. Just enjoy it. No, there's absolutely no reason. But he did a fantastic job. I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Unfortunately, our theater did not have good dub showtime, so we had to watch it subbed, and I have no complaints.
Yeah, it was still just as good.
Absolutely. So just getting to rewatch that part was... probably my favorite part of the whole thing, to be completely honest. I loved what we got to sneak peek as far as what season 2 is, but that was my most anticipated part, was rewatching that scene.
Yeah, well worth it. And much unlike how the Demon Slayer movies have been coming out, where we get the preview of the next season, like the first episode or two, and we get a recap of the last fight before we see the new content. This movie was literally the entire recap of season 1, all the way back from when he got his awakening powers to every single big fight that happened up until he got his necromancy powers.
Yep. All the highlights are there, which is super fun to see because this season, which I really enjoyed seeing, I will say if you haven't seen season 1 and you watch this, you're going to be confused by some certain details, but you'll have a concept. If you haven't watched it, it'll probably make you pumped for what is season 1.
Definitely. And it was nice getting this recap to a degree, as there was a moment that I was like, okay, we've seen all this. I want the new stuff. Please hurry this up. Seeing all of the highlights and all the awesome battles, it was still nice to see again.
Yeah, I was not expecting this as far as a recap was concerned. I was very hesitant, kind of what you were feeling, where it's like, oh, no, I just want to get through it. Give me season 2. But this was good. This was real good.
Yeah, it was so good.
And as far as what you get for season 2, without giving too much away, basically they get trapped and Jinu has to do his own thing. We'll just put it that way. And it's awesome.
Yeah, we get a new portal that is really interesting.
Yep.
And of course, we get the beginning arc of Dongso, the American brother of the other brother that he killed in the earlier part of season 1. You know, the piece of shit brother that was recruiting small leveled guys to make bank and just take away their shares. But yeah, we get the start of his arc coming into Japan, looking for his own revenge for the murder of his brother.
Yeah. So,
Matt's giving me some. Matt's read the whole manhwa, so he knows exactly what's going on. So
okay. I know exactly what's going to happen. And for anybody that doesn't know or doesn't remember, this is called ReAwakening because they talk about hunters can have a reawakening, which is essentially just a strength and abilities. Mm-hmm. And that's what this arc is going to be.
Oh, yeah. And really, as we get into a little bit of spoiler content.
Yes.
What the main enemies that we fight in these first 2 episodes, I don't know how much I want to spoil, but I'm just going to say it. They gave off vibes that they too are reawakened. And I thought it was going to be dragged out much, much longer, and it'd probably be a bigger part of the series because of reasons that I'm not going to spoil. But it's not that case. So it's nothing to think too deeply about. I think they could have definitely gone down that route if they really wanted to. But I don't know how the story progressed in its way. I just think it would be an interesting branch to explore had that happened. Like, what I'm saying is, if the enemies, if the bosses, if these guys in the portals also experienced reawakenings, what would happen with that?
So Jinno is unique, and we'll find out why much later in the series, probably in the next season, which will probably be the last season.
Like, we'll find out in season 3 material?
Season 3. Okay. Everything will come together. The manhwa is very fast-paced, you could say. It gets from point A to point B. It just continuously progresses through the story, which makes a lot of sense when you watch this movie. You're like, that happened all really fast. Mm-hmm. And that's basically how the manhwa is, where it's just like, there's no real fluff in anything. It just progresses very quickly, which is fine for people who like that kind of story arcs, mm-hmm. where there's a lot of subtle details that happen, but as far as like the main plot of the story, it just continues and keeps going. There's no like, all right, well, here's our training arc. We had our training arc. It was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happens throughout the series. So that I'm fine with that because the story is a lot of fun and it's really good. As far as the movie was concerned, I really like the fact that they go more into his necromancy powers, mm-hmm. which is really fun, and just kind of explaining all that, being like, all right, this seems kind of OP. Well, it is kind of OP. They didn't make it like how some anime is concerned, where it's like, all right, he has this OP ability and he can just use it as much and as often as he wants to, and that's not the case.
Yeah, I love that they did that because, of course, creating your own army with all your dead soldiers is very OP. They did show that this isn't really going to be a spoiler. It shows that it drains the shit out of his MP.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's amazing, but it's not going to last forever.
Yep.
So that was good to know. There's pros and cons to everything. He's OP, but he's not that OP. He's got to have something holding him back to a degree.
And as we can tell at the end of the movie, like, he's still not the strongest creature in the universe.
Yeah, I was very pleased that they did that. Again, we're not going to spoil anything, but what he's saying there is relieving because it kind of takes away a lot of the interest of a character. If you know he's OP right off the bat, then you kind of know, like, okay, well, he's definitely not going to die. I mean, that goes without saying for like 99% of our main characters, but you know his hardships are going to be lightly taken.
Yep. And that's definitely not the case. He needs to work and progress and figure out ways to get through his enemies. And it's not just a simple, all right, well, I leveled up. Here we go. I'm now stronger than you. And that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. He gets his ass handed to him. He kind of lucks out on a lot of stuff. And he comes to terms with that.
Yep.
With one comment that he has with himself in the movie, which was very nice. Again, no spoiler, but it was just nice to hear that he humbles himself.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that we could talk about that I found funny was when he has to go to his sister's school and all the girls are like fawning over him.
Yeah.
And it's just very funny how awkward he is when it comes to that part where he's oblivious, but we have to remember all this is like he's gone through a radical change in like 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So to him, he's still like this 5 foot nothing, super scrawny. He's not a kid, but adult that barely could make it through an E rank dungeon, let alone anything else. So that's kind of how he pictures himself.
Yeah. And to us Americans, it might be a little cringy because he's an adult going to a much younger.
He's going to high school. It's at a high school.
Right. I suppose. Okay. I guess I'm so used to anime that we watch, like main characters are usually a high school, and then his sister's clearly younger, so he's going to a middle school. But yeah, he's literally an adult. He's been working for years. I forgot he's in his 20s.
Yeah, he's in his 20s, and his sister is 17, I believe. Like, she's getting ready to graduate high school, kind of thing.
So it's to Japanese culture, it's acceptable, but it's still kind of funny because she made a comment that like, oh, I can help you talk to other girls and stuff like that. Like, well, these are still kind of kids, which is funny.
Yep. His personality has changed, which was actually really nice to see the recap. And then in season 2, you got to see the personality change, the confidence that he has in himself, and then all this other stuff where it's like, oh yeah, that's he's actually almost a completely different person at this point.
Yeah. And it's really funny that they pulled like a Spider-Man 3 and made like a kind of an emo look going on with Jinwoo. After his new necromancer powers came through, he went through, in season 1, we saw him go from a kid to like an adult, and he still had long hair. Like, he had long hair as a kid, kind of got a little bit shorter as he matured. But now this new look it's really funny. It's like extra mature, but like he's got this like gothic emo look going, and it's kind of funny at first.
Well, he's a necromancer. You can't not be.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely fits his abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, would you tell people to watch this in theaters if they have the opportunity, or would you just, at this point, just tell them to wait?
After watching this in its entirety, I will say yes.
Okay.
The first half of this, I was like, God damn, this is taking forever. Like, I know all this information, and I can't believe I'm actually getting a recap of the entire season 1.
Yep.
But, like we said, it's the highlights. It's all the good stuff, so it is nice to see. And the new content is just so goddamn amazing, and it's so interesting, and I can't believe that season 2 is going to start with such a hype that, yes, it's definitely worth seeing.
I will promise you there's no lulls in this series.
No, everything is just, it's high and it stays high.
Yep, absolutely.
Do it in a good way. What did you think?
I agree. If you have the opportunity, go see it. It's a lot of fun. If you like solo leveling, you're going to enjoy it. I want to say it's almost 2 hours.
Maybe.
And it may be like an hour and 40 minutes, something like that. And so it felt, like you said, the first half did seem kind of long, but that's because we've seen everything.
Oh God, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's a lot of recap, and maybe it's the first 3 episodes then.
No, because the movie started at 7 and we left at like 9:15. There's no way.
Google's saying 2 hours 40 minutes.
Yeah, I don't believe Google. Google's lying. So the first half is a little long. I can say that much. And that's because we already know what to expect. Yeah, Fandango is telling me 2 hours even.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing another one saying that the recap is an hour and a half and the rest of the movie is about 30 to 35 minutes long.
Yeah, runtime is 2 hours, according to Fandango.
Okay.
So about 2 hours. And it was worth it. I will say, like, the new stuff flew by.
Definitely.
So just for that, it's worth the price of admission.
Totally agree. And all of us in the anime community who like seeing stuff early, of course it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So knowing what you know for the first 2 episodes, is there anything specific you're looking forward to seeing in season 2?
Yeah, I took notice on the rewatch. I noticed that they put a lot of focus in Jinwoo's abilities and how they were level 1. And it took quite a long time for anything to get to level 2. So it's making me wonder, how much are we going to progress with the level? Like, he had his, I don't remember what it's called, but his big boost in speed. Like
Dash,
that's what it was. Thank you. It's so simple. His dash ability went to level 2, and like that was really late in the series, in the first season. Yep. Consider, but how much faster can he get? Is his dash gonna turn into like a teleport at some point because he's gonna just be so fast? Yep. I can only imagine his skill level for his necromancy increasing because that's his new main ability, and I'd like to see his mana just I'd like to see his MP capacity just explode so that his armies could last longer or be stronger, or when he says arise, he can literally control anybody.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I would like to see in the future.
Okay. Yeah, skills would be, when you pay close enough attention, they definitely do focus on skills.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see. Well, so we see limitations on his skills. So it's like, all right, so you level them up. At what point do those limitations no longer become limitations?
Mm-hmm.
And when we were rewatching the Arise scene, we saw that he could only hold 20 shadows.
Oh, good point. I didn't even notice that, but that's good to know.
So it'd be curious to see what his army ends up being, like at the end of the season. That'd be really cool. Does it like expand exponentially where it's like, all right, level 2, you go from 20 to 100? Like, that'd be kind of crazy.
Oh, that would be pretty crazy.
But if it takes a really long time to level up.
Yeah, maybe there's only like a level 3, level 4 max on that. There's no reason why we can't imagine that there is a max or is an infinite level.
Yeah. Do you think he'll cap out like Jinu? Do you think he'll cap out at a level, or do you think it's infinite?
Because he keeps referring to the system as a driving force, and he's being guided the entire time. I do think that there's a final goal for everything. So I think there will be a cap.
Yep. Okay.
Because of that.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sens.
Much like how there's video games, like level 100 is your cap.
Yeah.
So I will like to imagine that the system has a goal that's driving him to do something, and he's going to do exactly what he needs to do. So there's going to be a goal cap. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. That makes sense.
I know you know everything, so I'm not going to ask much questions. Like, if you want to chime in with how you thought things were going to go in the moment that you were reading it.
I will say I thought there was going to be no cap. I thought it was just going to be as much as he wanted to grind as far as he could go.
I love that idea. If you can put in the grind, go for it. Like, you earn what you get. I love that concept.
It's kind of like in Pokemon, where if it didn't cap out at 100, where it just takes forever to go from 90, 91, 90, like it's grinding to get those extra levels. I could see something like that happening where it's like, all right, you're level 90 and now it's 8 million XP to get to 91, and it's 20 million to get to 92. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is going to take me a minute. So I kind of thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it would suck, but it would really differentiate people who are strong and people who just put in all the time and effort and made themselves into a god.
True. Knowing what you know from the beginning of season 2, do you think there are more of him? Like, do you think there are more people in the game?
Kind of like what I was saying with the enemy and what I'm holding back from spoiler. It did make me think that there was more people like him just on the enemy side. Okay. But those are within the portals, and those kind of feel like isekais in themselves. Okay. So I'm going to say no to that. As far back, going back into like IRL.
Like in his world.
In his world. Yep. I feel like it's a no. I think he might be a one and only, a special circumstance. I don't know why. I would love an explanation, but I just feel like he might just be the only one who can go through this unique situation.
That makes sense. So what Lance is referring to is there's an incident that happens where you're like, hey, why did this happen? Without giving anything away, that's the most I can say. It's very like, what the fuck just happened kind of moment. And that is what Lance is referring to as far as why he believes that there might be others in a different world. Right. Makes sense. I am just not going to say anything because I don't know how to phrase anything without saying anything.
Without giving everything away?
Yes. Yeah. I will say my favorite thing about this series is that they make everything make sense.
Okay, that's good to know.
That without spoiling anything, everything gets explained. And that's what I really liked about the series, is that you didn't just go, and here's some anime logic, and now I can just level up like nobody's ever been able to do before. So that is something that I really enjoyed. Did you have a favorite moment from this?
My favorite moment is going to be my favorite LOL scene.
Okay.
This comes at the end, and again, without giving too much spoilers, Jinu he awakens somebody, and this soldier that he awakens has a personality. And this personality is just so goddamn funny.
Yes.
I imagined that his entire army was essentially going to be slaves to his will. And then this one just comes out with a personality. And then we find out that Glarus also kind of has its own personality.
Yes.
So, like, I love that it's not mindless slaves. It's they're following orders and they have for whatever, how far you want to throw it, they have their own mind, they have their own will to a degree. And I love the personality. It is just funny the way that, I'm just going to say his name, Iron, because that doesn't spoil anything. Iron is so damn funny. I can't wait to see more out of him.
Yes, the Iron scene was very funny. Without seeing it, you'll have no idea what we're talking about, and that is perfectly fine. Yes, I agree. That part is very funny. Man, I kind of already talked about it. My favorite part was definitely rewatching the Arise, the original, or the first Arise. It was so great to see. I got chills. That was probably the most emotion I got out of this entire thing. I guess I'm just going to say because I don't want to give anything away. Just Gino walking through the school was very funny as well.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It's not one of my favorite scenes, but since we've already talked about it, I'm just going to claim that one so I don't have to talk about scenes that might spoil stuff. So I thought it was very funny. It kind of lightened the mood of the entire movie because everything else up to that point had been very serious. A lot of stabbings, a lot of death, a lot of fighting. So this was just a lighthearted section of this series.
Right. It was a soft enough open to season 2.
Yep.
Where things were back and forth with seriousness and reality of Gino's actual life.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a soft enough open and it was humorous. So it was really nice.
Yeah, it was easygoing enough to be like, you know what, that's fine.
So without spoiling anything more, the main baddie of this first arc, that's going to be season 2, was really fun to see.
Yep,
this
absolutely.
New world, this new portal that we jump into is a lot of fun. So everybody's going to enjoy this, especially if you're listening to this and you're definitely a Solo Leveling fan. It is definitely going to be fun.
100%. And for anybody that is interested, we are drinking, of course, because we can't record any episodes without some Kanpai. So for today, I am drinking some Willet bourbon, and then of course I have a Spotted Cow. What about you, Lance?
Today I had been drinking some Green River Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, and of course the New Glarus Spotted Cow as well. Awesome.
That is all we have for this episode. Please make sure to check out the Anime Show on Facebook and Instagram. See all the awesome anime content they have on there. Also, please subscribe to us, drop a like, and leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening to us. Have a good one.
Later, guys.
Knight Commander Glarus, you are a warrior. Will you let your blade rust? Or will you nerf me? Pledge yourself to the man before you. Arise.